So this woman, her name's Amanda, and Amanda has a huge problem. She's a liar, a big liar. So one day, she's just chilling, I guess, and she decides to tell everyone she has cancer. Like, hey, I have cancer. Not only that, she starts a blog, and she starts writing about her experiences with it. And here she updates everyone about her symptoms and about how her treatments are going. And let me tell you, this woman is going the extra mile. She's buying used medical equipment to use as props in her photos. She's going into hospitals just to get pictures of herself, and then posting those pictures in her blog and on social media. She even shaves her head to make it look like she's going through chemo. So of course, this blog gets people's attention, and it blows up. And people are inspired, and they're giving her all kinds of love and emotional support. And during all this, one day, bam, Amanda gets pregnant. And everyone's like, oh shit, you're pregnant. Is the chemotherapy going to affect the baby? So she tells everyone, no, the pregnancy has reversed the cancer, and that now she's cancer-free. And people, believe her. Now, of course, a lie this big is eventually going to involve some money. So naturally, she uses this pregnancy and the cancer as an excuse to set up a donation link on her blog. But before anyone will donate, she has to tell everyone that the cancer has come back, and it's worse. So at 38 weeks pregnant, she tells everyone the cancer has returned, and now it's stage 4. And predictably, people start donating money. Now, at this point, she does have a lot of medical expenses, not from the fake cancer, but from the pregnancy. And she needs money. So she sets her targets on a place very well known for being full of gullible people. A mega church. Now, Amanda's very religious. She's been going to this church for a long time. So she goes there and she goes to her pastor and she tells him this cancer story and she asks him if he can help. And the pastor, bless his heart, he helps spread this cancer story to the whole congregation. And he starts getting people to donate money to her. And the people at the church, they fall right into it. I mean, they feel bad for her. They love her story. And this goes on for a while. And then one day they ask Amanda to get on stage and tell her story to the whole congregation, to the thousands of people attending every week. And Amanda, who really needs to keep this con going, she's like, all right. And then the day comes when she's supposed to speak. And the auditorium is packed, and they set the mood with dry ice, and there's dramatic music playing. And she walks up on stage, and in front of everyone, she starts telling this made-up cancer story. And the congregation believes every word of it. They are moved. They're on the edge of their seats. Some of them are crying. And when she's done speaking, a ton of them get up, and they approach the stage, and they literally start throwing money up on stage to help her pay for her treatment. And the church is celebrating her. They're hailing her as a hero. They're posting about her on their Facebook page. And from there, it all snowballs. Suddenly, she's getting up and speaking at her church every week, and people are donating to her online, and they're holding fundraiser events like Facebook challenges, raffles, and gift cards, presents. They're giving her frickin' airline miles. Even country music singer LeAnn Rimes hears the story and donates a signed guitar to Amanda's cause. I mean, at this point, Amanda has kind of become a local celebrity, and no one seems to be calling her on her bullshit. Until... At this point, the con has been going on for about 3 years. But one day, this woman, Nancy's an investigative journalist. And one day, she gets an anonymous email from someone. We still don't know who. Basically saying, I think this woman's faking cancer and scamming people at her church. I think you should look into this. Now, Nancy, her sister died from cancer, so she's immediately interested in this story. So she starts combing through Amanda's blog posts. She combs through years of posts, and she starts to find inconsistencies. Like treatments Amanda claims she did at home, but those treatments aren't available to do at home. Stuff like that. Nancy's calling people who know Amanda. She's calling hospitals and clinics Amanda was supposedly treated at. And eventually, Nancy has a ton of evidence, and she gathers it all and she gives it to the police. Now, police open an investigation into Amanda, but lying about having cancer isn't exactly a crime. So they pass this info on to the IRS. Now, during all this, word eventually gets back to Amanda that this investigative journalist, Nancy, is calling around asking questions about her, trying to prove she doesn't have cancer. And Amanda is not happy someone's trying to expose her con. So she files a restraining order against Nancy to stop her from investigating, but it ultimately gets denied by a judge. Then she files a civil harassment lawsuit against Nancy, and that lawsuit goes on for 2 years. And all Amanda has to do to win this lawsuit against Nancy is prove to the court that she has cancer, and she can't do it. So Amanda doesn't win, but unfortunately it does cost Nancy a ton of money to fight it. Meanwhile, back at the IRS, they start closing in on Amanda, because after all this time, they finally have proof of something they can pin on her. Wire fraud. Because remember, she had been accepting donations through her website, which is wire fraud. So finally, after all this has been going on 7 years, and she had conned over 100 grand in electronic donations from people, not to mention all the cash donations from her church and the thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gifts she had received over the years, police finally arrest her. She goes to trial, she pleads guilty to wire fraud, she's sentenced to 5 years in prison, and she has to pay the $100,000 back. Wow, shout out to San Jose, California. So this guy, let's call him Creed, and Creed has a problem. He's dead. Lying in a grave, just super dead. So Creed is a retired professional boxer, and he's married to this woman, Lulu. Lulu's from Mexico, and together they own and run a local gym. And one day, after being married to Creed for 3 years, Lulu finally becomes a US citizen. Yeah. And it's around this time, her attitude starts to change. Like, she doesn't need Creed anymore, and they're no longer getting along, and they start fighting a lot, and then one day, suddenly, boom, she files for divorce. So I guess now, Lulu's gonna move on and not cause any problems between her and Creed. No, she's not. So Creed and Lulu have this mutual friend, who we'll call Sidekick. So Sidekick works out at their gym, and one day he's there, and he overhears Lulu in a conversation, talking about hiring someone to unalive her husband. And Sidekick's like, she can't be serious. So the next day, he confronts her about it, and turns out she is serious. I mean, she really wants Creed gone. So Sidekick tells her, all right, don't do anything yet. I'll help you with this. I'll help you hire a hitman. Here's the thing though, Sidekick has no intention of helping her. He just wants to stall her. So he immediately calls Creed and he's like, hey, your wife is trying to hire a hitman to unalive you. And Creed is shocked and he's hurt and he knows that if he dies before the divorce is finalized, then she gets all the money he's made from his pro boxing, from his gyms, all that stuff. And he doesn't want her to get all his money. Plus, he doesn't want to die. So Creed and Sidekick go to the police and they tell him what's going on. And the police are like, yeah, you need more evidence. And at this point, Creed is scared for his life because this hit could come at any time and he and Lulu are still living in the same house. So he and Sidekick come up with a plan. So Sidekick calls Lulu and he secretly records her. And he's like, hey, I found a hitman for you. And he gets Lulu to confirm on that recording that she's plotting to unalive her husband. Then Creed and Sidekick go back to the police and they're like, hey, we recorded her admitting it. And police are like, okay, we believe you, but a jury might not. So we need something more concrete. And then police come up with this wild idea. And they're like, okay, in order for this wild idea to work, we need Creed to be dead. Or at least we need him to pretend to be dead. So then police put special effects makeup on Creed to make it look like he got shot and died. Then they drive him out to the middle of nowhere to this dump. And at the dump, they find like a hole in the ground that's big enough for a body, and they make him take his shirt off and get into it, and then they tell him to pretend to be dead, and they take a bunch of pictures. Then they set up a little sting operation, and one of the police officers goes undercover, and he pretends to be the actual hitman, who we'll call Fake Hitman. So then Fake Hitman gets Lulu to agree to meet with him so that she can pay him for this hit. And then they meet up at night in the shady parking lot. Now part of this deal is that Lulu's gonna pay Fake Hitman $1,000, plus some of the life insurance money she's about to collect. So then Fake Hitman shows her these photos of Creed looking all dead in the grave, and she's satisfied. So she pays him the $1,000. A period of time later, Lulu's working at the gym, and suddenly police show up, and they ask her, hey, have you seen Creed around? Some people reported him missing, and she's like, no, I have no idea where he is. And that is the final piece of evidence police need to complete their operation. They needed her on record lying to police and denying she knows where Creed is. So they arrest her, they charge her with second-degree solicitation of murder, here's her mugshot, she takes a plea deal and gets 20 years in prison. And all this went down in Texas, so shout out to Texas. So M is a TikToker with Tourette's syndrome, and M has no problem talking about their Tourette's, showing their tics on camera.
And stole his.
Until one day, people online start accusing M of faking their Tourette's. And what proof do these anonymous people have? Well, M also has a pagan yarn dyeing business. That's a real thing, which M produces separate content for on YouTube. And in the videos for this account, you may notice M doesn't have any tics, which is wildly different from the way M acts on TikTok. So people notice this and they are not happy and they start blowing up M's comment section. You don't really have Tourette's. You're faking it. What the hell is pagan yarn? So M sees this and M makes kind of a playful video reply, sort of addressing it, but not really taking the hate seriously. But then, before all this chaos, someone created a subreddit dedicated to nothing but investigating M. And people are posting all kinds of stuff there, like an old video of M on a live stream performing a spoken word poem, but no tics.
Or the contents of your mind.
So M continues to get dragged through the mud, and I guess that does it. Because finally, M starts taking this seriously. And they make a TikTok showing proof that they have Tourette's, showing an outpatient consultation document. But people in that subreddit are still not convinced, and they immediately start debunking it. Now, on that medical document she showed, it does in fact say Tourette's. However, it also says Huntington's disease, which, to be fair, Huntington's disease can sometimes cause certain kinds of tics. But then, in a weird twist, someone in the subreddit finds an old video of M talking about having Huntington's.
May is Huntington's Disease Awareness Month, so I decided to make this video.
And the video's 5 minutes long, and in it, M has no tics. So people don't know what to believe at this point, including myself. Like, is it Huntington's? Is it Tourette's? Is it all fake? What the hell does M have? But then, as if this couldn't get any weirder, people in that subreddit somehow find members of M's family, and they start reaching out to them to ask, does M really have Tourette's? And eventually, M's alleged sister releases an official statement to that subreddit, basically saying she can confirm that M does have Huntington's disease, but highly doubts M actually has Tourette's. Then, M's mom jumps in, and she releases an official statement to the subreddit, and she basically confirms that yes, M does in fact have Huntington's disease, but not Tourette's. So after all this heat, I guess it's too much for M to handle, because M just completely deletes their TikTok and all their social media accounts. However, after a period of time, M reemerges with a new account and makes new content and focuses on not their Tourette's, but their paganism and witchcraft. Of course. Despite that, M is still keeping up the whole Tourette's act.
I was literally bullied off the internet, so I do not do awareness for Tourette's anymore, regardless of the fact that I do have a clinical diagnosis.
And of course, people go immediately to the comments and they just start destroying M all over again. And like influencers on YouTube start calling her out.
Tourette's syndrome is not a joke, it is not something funny.
So finally, after all that, M just deletes their TikTok again and all their other social media, and they haven't really been heard from since. Shout out to Pagan Yarn.